Hi, this is Cory Schortzman. I'm the Executive Director at Transfomed Hearts Counseling Center here in Colorado Springs. In this section, I want to talk about what is sex addiction. Let's talk about frequency. Is how often I do this behavior, such as porn, masturbation, sex outside of marriage. How often that's happening, and it's becoming more and more frequent. The other is the amount of time and money and I'm spending on this addiction. Also, the substance. I need more of the substance. And for sex addicts, I got to go and get deeper and darker things to stimulate and excite me what that original high was. It's much like cocaine. When I worked with drug addicts years ago, every cocaine addict would tell me, that first hit, there's nothing like it, and they spend the rest of their time trying to regain that hit. So they need more of the substance, larger amounts, and have to do it more often. The other thing with sex addiction just generally is the inability to stop. I've tried to stop. I promised myself this is the last time, just one more time, it's not hurting anybody. We justify and rationalize, convincing ourselves that this is it. And then day after day, week after week, relapsing, finding ourselves back in that deep, dark place of despair. So with that, we have, I talked about in another section, resources is recovery groups. Recovery groups, what we do are work groups, because we believe if you're not doing workbook work, you are not in recovery. Now, if you're going to meetings and not finding much success, a lot of meetings out there are you come, you share, or you come and you puke and you leave. We call those support groups. Now, they're okay, but we have found more effectiveness in work group settings. That you each week work on some work, come and bring it to group. Steps, for example. Earlier I shared our step book for men and for women. Some points I want to make about sex addiction is that you might be abnormally driven by sex. Okay, the sex drive. This is a common behavior seen with people that have a bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder individuals have abnormally high sex drive. So if you never had a psych eval or consulted a psychologist or psychiatrist, that might be something you want to consider. You tried to stop, but you have this abnormally high sex drive. Now, this isn't just for men, this is for women also. The relationships you're in, another behavior we see with sex addicts is the relationship is just about sex. It's not about intimacy outside the bedroom, it's just sex in the bedroom. Masturbation. I've had clients that masturbate several times a day, and in fact can even masturbate so much they injure themselves. So you can't stop. Daily masturbation might not be several times a day, it might be daily, it might be weekly. The next point with sex addiction is with that is a lot of men get married thinking, well, once I'm married, I'm not going to have to masturbate anymore. But if that was true, I'd be out of business. So it's not true. Generally, the masturbation does pick up after the marriage, and it's really devastating to the spouse. Grooming is another behavior. I want to talk about grooming a little bit. What is grooming? Some of you may not be familiar with the term grooming, but it's time and attention towards a certain person. It may be start as an emotional type of relationship and become what we would call an emotional affair, and then lead to a physical affair. Okay, so grooming is that intent that you are spending time targeting a certain relationship. The other thing, if you were abused as a child, a male or female, growing up by a male or female, you might be suffering from sexual abuse or trauma, and I would encourage you to find a therapist that can help you with that. I like to use the word trauma because if I ask a client, have you been sexually abused, most people are going to say no, but then I like to explain it as, have you had, or like I say, when was your first sexual experience? with another person, male or female, willingly or unwillingly. Okay, and it's a broad definition, and I don't want to specifically define it because I don't want to limit it to abuse, like I was perpetrated by the dirty guy, neighbor next door. Okay, that's not always sexual trauma. Sexual trauma can be walking into my parents having sex, seeing my mom or my dad naked at an inappropriate age. Okay, so it's not always abuse, but trauma. The last thing is you might be bored with the monogamous relationship that you're in as far as the sex life. So all these points might help you better define what a sex addict is. Now let me, in closing here, just talk about what acting out, the term we use is acting out. So we define acting out as no porn, no masturbation, no sex outside of marriage. These are our definition and how we define sobriety. Okay, so if you have not done those things, so you're sober for that day. Now, we don't believe you can be sober on your own. Find a local group, call our office, get involved with a phone group. We also have local groups who do. So with that, again, you can contact our office at our website at transformedhearts.com. Call us at 719-590-1350. And remember, your smallest choices are your biggest victories.